In this section, we'll discuss about integrating Adreno with AWS IoT Core and DynamoDB. So the project overview is about integrating Adreno with SIM 808 module and GPS. Here, GPS is used to send sensor data and GPS data to AWS IoT Core, which will store. Yeah, it's the first one is the project scope. In project scope, you will have four sections. First one is the hardware setup. In hardware setup, you will have how do you configure Adreno with the SIM module and the GPS module. Second aspect is the AWS IT core integration. So in how do you establish a communication between Adreno or the hardware board and AWS IT core. The next one is the data storage. The whatever data you get, right? How are you transmitting the data in a DynamoDB table? Then last one is the testing and validation. So in testing, right, you'll validate the different aspects, right, of so it is divided into project uh, and with respect to different timelines. First week, right, you will have the project initiation. So different tasks, what you have is finalizing of hardware and software requirements. So you will have the what is the software and what is it require, what are the software, hardware and software requirements. Then you will have the AWS account creation. Then in first week you will have a kind of list generated, right? What is the deliverables? So you will verify hardware and software checklist in the first week itself. Then in the week two, the tasks required, right? Setup of Adna, with SIM 808 module. Then whatever libraries you require, right? Like Adreno, libraries like Tiny GSM, sub client, and Adreno GSM, right? That as part of the week two plan. So in week two, right, the deliverables will be like your complete setup, right, will be ready along with the device and SIM 808 and GPS module. So week three, it's more like AWS IoT core setup. So here, right, you will create a thing, right, and you will configure the certificates for communication, and also, right, you need to set up the broker, and you need to validate the communication between your MQTT broker and device and core. So here the deliverables will be like your core module. Then you have the in week four, right? It is the actual development environment where you are setting it. Right, you need to establish some piece of code, right, to send and receive the data between GPS and your board. And also, right, you need to send this data to the AWS IoT core via MQTT. So you need to establish some kind of code for error handling and correction logic whenever there is a disconnect. So by at the end of week four, right, your complete setup will be ready in case of data transfer between your GPS device and AWS IoT core. In week five, right, in week five is more of creating a table in DynamoDB and storing the IoT data. And you can here, right, you will be defining the schema and your insertion of your data, right, to the table. The complete data storage setup is ready by the end of week four. Week six is more of validation. First is testing and validation. So you can set up this board, right, and monitor the data flow. validate the data is completely stored in DynamoDB. Here you have the end-to-end testing and some kind of integration testing is also done here. By the end of sixth week, right, you would have successfully validated the complete pipeline, right, between Adreno and DynamoDB. See, the last week is more of the documentation, how to use this project, right? What are the different configurations for as part of Adreno O and AWS defined in this, then complete deliverable. The so resources will be your as far your hardware, you have the board, then SIM module, GPS module, and SIM card. And SIM card, you need to have some data plan, right? Otherwise, you will not be able to send the data. So, and the software part, you have Adreno IDE, AWS IT Core, AWS DynamoDB. So, some of the personnel which are involved, like developer, cloud architect, and program or the project manager. In case of budget, right, how do you estimate? Yeah, that details, right, will be as part of this plan. And AWS service message coverage, right? You need to pay for the AWS service and your personal costs, the development developer cost, project manager cost, all this will be there in the estimate. Then you have the risk management plan. See, every project, right, will have some issues, right? So how are you mitigating those issues and how are you handling the things? So in case of data loss, in case of configuration errors, right, all this will be there in the as part of risk management plan. So you can define the milestones, right? These are the different milestones from week 2 to week 7, right? So hardware configuration in week 2 will be complete. Week 3 you'll have the AWS IoT core setup. Week 4 is nothing but the complete data flow is finalized. Week 6 is your testing. Week 7 is the documentation and handoff. So this is a kind of project plan. So in the next video, right, next section, we'll discuss about the how do you design and how do you have the code for this project.